This looks like a rock, but it's actually came from a piece of styrofoam. Some junk styrofoam I got from some people. As makeup artists, oftentimes we will need to make props. So today, I'm going to teach you how to make a rock. Okay, first of all, you can take your piece of styrofoam, take a section out of it, like that, and this is what we're going to make a rock with. What I like to do before I make the rock is find out the location they're shooting in so you can make the rock look similar to that location. This rock was done in a movie out in a riverbed with a lot of rocks. So this matched really well to those rocks because I made sure that it did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to imitate this rock. And to imitate this rock, you take your styrofoam and you start breaking it up. Make sure when you're breaking it up that you're in an area where you can get messy. You're going to have little styrofoam chunks like this everywhere. So be careful. I'm going to make an irregular rock. What I like to do is I like to dig into it and then pop it off. Dig in, pop it off. You know, and it's just this texture of rock. Some rocks are more smoother. You just have to decide what kind of rock you're making. And you know, you're looking at these beads and stuff and you're thinking, oh, it's not going to look well. You should have used a different type of styrofoam. But actually, for this type of rock, you can't see the beads unless you go up kind of close. And even up close, you know, you still see the beads, but the texture looks beautiful on camera. So, just going to keep going here. Make that rock look like something I want. Some people will even go to the point of casting a real rock in silicone and making a urethane, expand foam kind of rock. But this is really what you really need to do. It's inexpensive and works really well. Okay, there's a good shape of a rock right there. This is the rock I am going to now color. It's a little smaller than the original, but that's okay. We're going to use this one. Now what I'm going to do is coat this rock with this latex. This is regular latex for making prosthetics, which is what I had available. You can use slip latex or mask latex, they also call it. It doesn't matter what kind of latex. This is just what I had available at the time. So what you do want to do is you want to take your latex now and just dab it all over the entire styrofoam piece. Coating the latex onto the styrofoam actually protects the styrofoam so it doesn't chip. As you can see, this rock here, there's a little chip right here. It will start chipping as the more and more you use it. So I would recommend coating a latex on it. If you don't have latex, you can still do a rock without it, as I did for that one. But I would recommend doing it this way, just as it will give it a little more strength and durability. Also, what I recommend is, if you're making a rock, make 2 or 3 of them. I found on one shoot I was on that the rock I made actually disappeared. It blended right into the environment and I actually couldn't find it. So I've learned a little lesson from that if you're going to make one rock, go ahead and make 2 or even 3 rocks so that you can have more in case it gets lost. So now I'm going to let these sit and dry, probably overnight. Takes a couple hours depending on how warm your room is. And remember, this is latex, this is ammonia base, so make sure that when you're working you're in a well ventilated area. Our rocks are dry and are ready to paint now. This is the rock I'm basing it on. If you have a real rock, I would recommend using that. This is what I have at the moment, so I'm going to look at all the colors on this rock and I've picked out the colors that I need. This is kind of a dirty look on it. There's the black and white are going to make the gray. There are some reds in there, some dark stuff like that. The blue is this blue tint, so I'm going to tint the white and the black and make it a kind of a gray blue look to it. And then there's some black also splatters around it. So that's what I'm going to base it on. And then what I did was I actually dry brushed a white coat over the top before I did a lot of the splattering, so that you have that kind of a highlight look. Okay, so we're going to begin. And what we're going to do to paint this is, like I said, if you don't have all this latex and stuff, if you just want to paint a rock, just grab your acrylic paints here and just paint styrofoam. That's what I did on this. You know, like I said, if I chip it here, it's styrofoam underneath. Okay? Now we're going to paint these rocks. What I found the best way of doing it is to make a product called PAX paint. PAX paint is made with prosthetic adhesive. You mix this with acrylic paint and you make a really sticky, good binding paint that sticks really well to these rocks. It's the same product used for painting rubber masks. So to make a base coat, you take your prosthetic adhesive, you pour it into your cup, and you set that aside for now. First of all, we need to mix our base coat, which we know that it's kind of a blue-gray look to it. So add your white and a little bit of your black, and get yourself a nice gray color. And this does have kind of a blue tint to it from the mix. So I think I'm just going to stay with that. I like that look. And this is what you're going to use and mix with your PAX paint. So now take your PAX paint, mix your acrylic into it. Now I have the color that I need for it. You can use a sponge or you can use a disposable brush. I like disposable brushes. Goes on quick, gets into all the cracks really well. So coat your rocks with this coating of PAX paint. Okay, I've taken my red, because I have red in this rock I noticed, and I spattered it. I just took this brush here that actually I used to paint the base with, and it frayed the end really nice. I don't want to spatter, I mean I could spatter this PAX paint, but the problem is with the Prosthetic in it, it doesn't come off of stuff. Like I was trying to scrape this off with a scraper earlier, and this stuff doesn't come off very well. I mean, I guess you can use solvents, but you have to be careful what surface you use solvents on. So what I did was I just took this brush, added a little bit of the red barn with PAX paint, and I spattered it. And now that I did that, I'm going to go to the next color, which is going to be, looks like there's a black in it, and there's also a brown. So this brown here is what we're going to use next. So I added my Prosthetic, and then brown, it's about a 50-50 mix when I mix it, and then stir it in really good, and we're going to start spattering again using my same brush, and instead of spattering I'm doing some dabbing. Just like that. Just all over it. If you put too many thick blotches, it doesn't matter. It's a rock. Rocks are all irregular in different ways. As you can see, I'm touching it on the paper towel just to get the majority of it off because I don't want it to be too thick. You can do thicker. There's no rule, really. Just make a rock. All right, third one. Add a little bit of PAX to the brush and just go ahead. The PAX paint makes the rock a little sticky just because PAX is a contact adhesive for prosthetics. See, I got a little thick right there? That's okay. It's a rock. I was saying prosthetic adhesive, so it's a contact cement. So you apply it to the surface of your prosthetic and you apply it to the face or whatever part of the body, and then when they dry, you stick them together. So that's why they're a little sticky. Okay, that's two colors already on these rocks. They're starting to look pretty good. What really highlights this rock is the white dry brush I did over it afterward. I'm going to add another color to this. I'm going to add a little bit of black to these now. So I'm going to take my black paint You can actually add black to this and give it a different color, you know? Then you don't have to waste your Prosade. That made it a real nice black, and I didn't have to add any more Prosade to it. So that's a good sign. And now I'm just gonna, black stands out a lot, so I'm actually just barely touching the surface. Just very subtle. And black on the other one now. Like I said, I'm not going as thick of a splatter on this. I'm just doing a real light coat. So those are my rocks. They just look very colorful right now. Once I add the white to it and a little bit of white and stuff, they're going to actually look a little more toned down. All right. Now I'm going to take these things and I'm going to dry brush over them. I'm taking a regular brush that I have here. This is watered down acrylic paint, just acrylic paint. I'm going to see how it goes. I'm going to just take a little bit on there and just kind of go over it like this. Just subtle. Just see how that goes. Just adding a little bit of a light color to the top. Like I said, I'm only using acrylic paint. And after this, I'll even use a different color. But you see how that's taking the colors and they're kind of blending them a little bit. Taking the colors out of the brush, so I just have a little bit in there, and it's a little bit can go a long ways. And I'm just going over the surface. I'm not pushing it into it. And what it's doing is it's toning down all those colors, and it's highlighting the surfaces, so it's now looking like a rock. You see that? Okay, but it doesn't look like this one yet because it looks like I actually dry brushed with a little bit of brown too. So and that's going to be my next step after this. I'm going to try some brown on it. Okay, but you can see the difference already in the two rocks. When you look at these two, the white just really toned everything down a lot. Whoa, a little too much white there. See that? You end up doing that, just take your cloth and just kind of like press it away. Just going over the surface, just lightly brushing over the surface. This is called dry brushing. You want to just, this is how you do it. Okay, that's two. Getting all the paint off the brush, just so I can dry brush over it. And what I used was just acrylic paint now. That's all I used on the surface. Now I'm taking this brown again, and I'm going to highlight again over the surface. Same brush, load your brush, and then dab it out. You just want a little bit in the brush so that you can go over the surface. Just like that. And that little bit of brown just makes them look a little more dirty, like a real rock. See that? Looking like a real rock. A little bit of brown, take it out of my brush, and let's go over the whole rock. Like I said, you don't need to use Prosade. You can just use acrylic paints. This just makes them durable, where you can throw these as much as you want and they won't break apart. But there's a rock. That one's pretty much done too. You see the difference in the two now? You can leave it like this if you want, but adding a little bit of dirt to it really helps it. Kind of blend itself in a little bit. This one I'm not going to add as much. I'm just going to add a little bit of dirt. Just like that. I'm not going to blend it in like the other rocks. Just like that. I just want to leave this one more subtle. What I'm doing to these rocks, I'm adding layers to them. The layers are what makes them look realistic. Okay, I'm going to take this white that's toned down, it's not as bright, and I'm going to add it to these rocks, but I'm going to actually do it with a little bit of that brown mix. And the reason why is that it's going to tone that white down a lot, and it's going to make it more of a dirty white, which is going to look more natural. Okay, I loaded the brush, take some of the paint off, and just another little highlight. Just a little bit. Just like that. See the difference? Just adds a little bit of a highlight on the ridges. See that? See the difference in the two? This one has the highlight. It just tones it down a little more and blends all those colors in. So it just looks so natural now, at least for these type of rocks. Okay, these are my rocks. Remember, I coated them in latex, then I used Prosthetic mixed with colors for the base coat, so it's a nice thick, heavy-duty rock. It's light. You can abuse this really well. This is my original Styrofoam one that peels really easy. The Styrofoam peels off of it. So I wanted to make them a little more durable for movie sets. That rock, you can throw that rock, it won't hurt, and it will last for a long time.